Hey guys, Whitey Apps here. I wanted to make a video talking about birthright citizenship and the context surrounding the Supreme Court ruling that happened the other day. So before we get into it, let's do a little bit of history. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution are what are known as Reconstruction Amendments. They came after the end of the Civil War. These amendments were used to help address what America was to do with the freed slaves and states after the Civil War conflict. Birthright citizenship comes from the 14th Amendment, specifically Section 1. This amendment and section grandfathered in slaves born on U.S. soil, no matter where their parents were from. Section 1 of the 14th Amendment reads as follows: All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Now, the Supreme Court ruling came down to constitutional interpretation. But how does constitutional interpretation work? Now, there are many schools of thought within constitutional interpretationism, but the most predominant in the legal system is precedent, which is where judges look to establish rulings and legal doctrines from previous court cases to ensure consistency in the law. Now, the major premise of the debate is the discussion of the, quote, subject to the jurisdiction thereof and what it actually means. To understand what it means and how it is applied in the Supreme Court interpretation, we're going to look back at a couple of cases that the Supreme Court drew upon in their official ruling. One of the most recent and prevalent cases in regards to birthright citizenship is the United States versus Wong Kim Ark in 1989. Wong was born in San Francisco to two Chinese parents, and after taking a work trip to China at 21, was denied entry back into the United States on the grounds of him not being a U.S. citizen. Now, eventually, this case made it to the Supreme Court in the United States versus Wong Kim Ark. The debate came down to the wordage of subject to the jurisdiction thereof as lined in Section 1. The government argued that the children of foreign nationals are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, but are instead subject to the jurisdiction of their parents' home country. Wong's lawyers contended that the Constitution guarantees birthright citizenship to anyone born on U.S. soil, with only exceptions being to children of foreign diplomats or invading enemy forces. Constitution Center states that, quote, because he was born in the United States and his parents were not employed in any diplomatic or official capacity under the Emperor of China, the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment automatically made him a U.S. citizen. Now, for this case, they drew upon the 1607 case of the Postnati, Postnati meaning in Latin born after, more commonly referred to as Calvin's case, that established a child born in Scotland after the union of the crowns under King James VI and I in 1603 was considered under the common law to be an English subject and entitled to benefits of English law, even though they were born in Scotland, because at that time, under the unions of the crowns with James VI and I, he ascended to the English throne, but also the Irish throne, which created the personal union and formation between the kingdoms of England, Scotland, and Ireland following the death of James' cousin Elizabeth I of England, the last monarch of the Tudor dynasty, which, again, this is all just precedence. The Supreme Court pulled on this Wong case, which pulled on this Scotland case. Now, for the modern background, on January 20th, 2025, President Trump issued Executive Order number 14,160, protecting the meaning and value of American citizenship. This order stated that children born to illegal immigrants and temporarily present, such as student, work, or tourist visas, are not, quote, subject to the jurisdiction, quote, of the U.S. and are not citizens and are not protected under the 14th Amendment or Immigration and Nationality Act. On June 30th, 2026, the Supreme Court ruled against Trump and this executive order and upheld birthright citizenship and struck this down. Now, this is where things get a little confusing. I've been seeing two different voting ruling, a 6-3 and a 5-4. Both are correct, but they're talking about two different questions. The first question was, should Trump's executive order stand? This is where we're seeing the 6-3 vote. 6 justices said the executive order could not stand, while 3 justices said it should. Chief Justice Roberts wrote the majority opinion and was joined by Justices Sotomayor, Kagan, Jackson, and Barrett. Justice Kavanaugh agreed that the executive order should be struck down, giving us a 6-3 result. But then there's the second question. Why was the executive order unconstitutional? This is where we're seeing the 5-4 vote. Only 5 justices fully agreed with Roberts' reasoning that the executive order violated the 14th Amendment Citizenship Clause. Kavanaugh, however, agreed that the executive order was unlawful, but for a different reason. Instead of saying the Constitution itself settled the issue, he argued that the order already conflicted with existing federal law, the Immigration and Nationality Act. He didn't think the court needed to answer the broader constitutional question because Congress had already written laws that conflicted with the executive order. This distinction is very technical, and I honestly had to use a little bit of AI to help me break it down because I'm not a lawyer. So because Kavanaugh said that it went against federal law and not necessarily the Constitution itself, Senator Eric Schmitt has announced that he plans to introduce the American Citizenship Act, which would amend Section 301 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, which is where Kavanaugh had his issue. This proposal would redefine the phrase subject to the jurisdiction, so that a child born in the United States would only automatically receive citizenship if at least one parent is either a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident or green card holder. Under that proposal, children born to undocumented immigrants or many temporary visa holders would no longer automatically receive birthright citizenship. This is why on many social media outlets you will see 2 different votes, a 6-3 and a 5-4. 6 justices agreed that the executive order should not stand, but Kavanaugh voted that it was not a constitutional issue, but more of a statutory federal law issue as opposed to the 14th Amendment. So what can be done? Because I don't want to just black pill on this. The long-term, most reliable thing that could happen is a constitutional amendment, which would require a 2/3 vote in both the House and Senate and a ratification of 3/4 of the states, meaning that would be 38 states. But in today's super political environment and everything is tribalism, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. There would be too much controversy surrounding it. I mean, we couldn't even get mass deportations, you know what I mean? The rest of the options that I'm seeing are very in the weeds and require a lot of inside baseball and understanding that I just don't have. So for right now, it's going to probably be a long time, if ever, that this can be done. Now, I'm not going to address just the absolute TikTok brain rot speech that was in the court opinions. I think that was just a disgrace and is forever in our history and is just disgraceful, and it speaks more volumes to bigger issues, but that's besides the point. So if you guys enjoyed this, let me know. This took a lot to do and really break down and get into the weeds. So thank you for watching. Send this to someone or just, like, comment. Whatever you guys want to do, I appreciate all the support, and God bless. I'm praying for you guys, and America first.